Chapter 5, The Start of Gameplay. Time to get started. Like building a character, all players must agree on what type of build they'll set their character cards to, custom or maximum. Then select the cards that have the restrictions met by the character card. Players will display the number of cards they will use face down. Once shown, these cannot be changed. You can have a single card, or use a maximum of 9 cards. Players will now prepare the grid and place any elevation blocks in turns. These blocks can be placed on any square on the grid and can be stacked to create any battlefield that best suits your needs. Once the grid has been prepared, each player will roll a 20-sided die. In order from highest to lowest, players will place down their character piece on any square on the grid. If they're tied, roll again. Players now prepare their player board according to their character card, which are placed in their respective zone. First, you'll start by recording your health with 2 transparent tokens within the health zone. Then do the same with locked energy by placing 2 transparent tokens within the locked energy zone. Next, set the stamina to 8 plus your endurance modifier, with the last transparent token. Lastly, place 2 Baron tokens on the dots in the respective zone. However, this number can be changed by your agility modifier. Players can place any weapons, armor, and abilities face down in their respective zones for the first rotation. Any cards not in play stay in the player's hand. After all players are ready to start, flip all cards from face down to face up. Players will lose locked energy from the locked energy cost of the weapons and armor active on their player board. However, the total locked energy cost of all cards played cannot exceed the starting locked energy amount. Once all players have subtracted their required locked energy, start the first rotation.
At the start of the rotation, players take their turns in order of highest speed to lowest. A player's speed value is determined by their active weapons, armor, and strength modifier. If a player is dual wielding, their speed value is the average of the 2 weapons while also taking the player's armor into account if active. You glass cannon players out there who don't like armor don't have to worry about that last part. A player's default speed is 1, slow and steady.
During a turn. Depending on how a player allocates their experience points on their character card, the start of their turn may differ from other players. At the start of the turn, you will gain locked energy and reset your stamina points. The locked energy gained from the start of the turn is 6 plus your intuition modifier. The stamina is reset to 8 plus your endurance modifier. Any used Baron tokens on the countdown move closer to the replay arrow by 1. During a player's turn, they may perform neutral and offensive actions and alter their player board. That player may exchange weapons, armor, and abilities at any time during their turn if they have the resources to do so. Any cards returned to the player's hand has all the resources restored to full, such as ammo and durability values. However, any cards returned to the hand must wait until the user's next turn to be played again.
An action is any option that requires stamina points. If a player does not have the amount of stamina points needed to perform the action, you cannot do it. A player can perform neutral, offensive, and defensive actions. Neutral and offensive actions can only be performed on the player's turn. Defensive actions, though, can be performed when you're being attacked on an opponent's turn. There's also advanced actions, which is an action that requires the user to be skilled in a weapon type or have a high attribute score. Move. The user can move in any direction equal to their movement speed modifier plus 1 on the same elevation level. Climb. Raise or lower a user's elevation level at a ledge. Remember, always climb down when you're up on a ledge. Falling hurts. Channel. The player will drop their stamina to 0, then gain locked energy equal to double the stamina spent. Attack. The user will select a target within the range of an active weapon and deal damage from that weapon. This will be covered in more detail in the next chapter. Block. Turtle up and take no damage from an attack. Select an active weapon to take durability damage, equal to the tier of the attacking weapon. If you have no weapon, your face will be the weapon and it can take the damage instead. This will also be covered in more detail in the next chapter. Dodge. Take no damage from an attack. Move to an adjacent square on the same or lower elevation. If the player chooses a lower elevation, the player will be dealt 3 gravity damage. This, you guessed it, will be covered in more detail in the next chapter. The player's turn ends in 2 ways. If the player announces that it's the end of their turn, or if the player has 0 stamina. If a player uses an action that results in them having 0 stamina, the player's turn will end after the action. Once all players have ended their turn, start the next rotation. At the end of a rotation, all players gain 1 stamina point and state their speed value. If 2 or more players share the same speed value, the player that went first in the previous rotation will go first in the next rotation. As a quick reminder, any player that has their maximum stamina cannot gain any more. And just repeat this process until everyone else is dead.